Alright, so we're back in the game. We're on my profile 4, which is the one that is my New Game Plus profile. And what I'm going to do right now, before starting a New Game Plus, is I'm going to just continue right where this is. And what I'll show you is the weapon upgrades that I've chosen. So again, from your casual playthrough, you should remember that you can upgrade all your weapons if you collect the right things. So,
A lot of things need
if you're
fixing
going to
up in this
do a New
world,
Game Plus
and
run,
we can start
you
right
really
here.
want to have all 5 of your main weapons fully upgraded. The 5 weapons that I'm talking about are the hammer, the fang repeater, the scrap musket, the brusher's pike, and the galleon mortar. Now, the reason that I have 5, if you remember in New Game, we only used 4 weapons, right? We used hammer, repeater, musket, and pike. Now, the reason I want 5 is mortar and musket are both viable options for a New Game Plus run. And so what you want to do is have both available, because you never know if doing a run with one of the two of them is going to be proven to be optimal. So if you just have both on your save file, then you don't have to worry if it turns out that you actually want to use the other one, and you don't have to recreate your save data. And having both of these, having both musket and mortar, doesn't really cause any problems for you. So that said, let me talk about the upgrades. So the hammer, you're obviously going to pick up at the beginning, and you're only going to use until you get to the arsenal. But until you get to the arsenal, you're stuck with the hammer. The fang repeater sucks by comparison. I mean, you will use it in a couple places, which I'll talk about, but mostly you're going to be using the hammer to break everything. So you want upgrades. So here's the way I have the hammer upgraded, and then I will tell you that in some cases, for each weapon, I'll show you what I have upgraded. I'll tell you that in some cases, other people have other things upgraded, and I'll try to explain why. So for the hammer, I have all the left upgrades. So there's 50% damage, focus attack, 50% damage, attacks ignore armor, 75% damage. Personally, the way I like to do things is I like to have guaranteed damage. And the Kale Hammer, or I guess Sail Hammer because it's Celandia, it matters for such a short time that I just like to have the hits be nice and large so that everything just dies. Now, the alternative options are you could get crit chance, this knockback, which is literally irrelevant, like you don't even care about this. In fact, I wouldn't want this specifically because it would cause things to get knocked away from me. Increased critical hit damage in case you wanted that. Overhead strike stunning, which again literally does not matter. And increased crit chance and crit damage. You can get the crit boosts if you want. The hammer will still deal a lot of damage. Personally, I find that I just want to have the extra damage. It makes everything, all the numbers bigger, basically. But it's not super important. So if you're feeling unoriginal, just do all the left upgrades. Otherwise, you can do whatever you think is appropriate. You just have to make sure that you're one-shotting anything that you attack with the hammer. If you're not, you're probably wasting time. So that is the hammer. Then we got the fang repeater, and this is the one where there's the most disagreement about which upgrades. So you definitely want the double clip upgrades. You want both of them for plus 16 ammo capacity. Absolutely, you want both of these. Now, you also definitely want the tracking critters upgrade. Bolt Seek Out Foes. This is a super, super important upgrade for one reason that I'll show you. Basically killing squirts. And then there's these two other options. In both of these places, you can either get 50% increased damage, or you can get improved firing rate and wider attack spread. So what happens if you pick both of the improved firing rate ones is that your bullets shoot very quickly, but they spread out in a crazy wide arc. Or you can pick both damage increases, and then your bullets shoot about as slow as they previously did, but directly ahead very accurately. Or you can do what I did, which is to pick one of each. And the rationale behind picking one of each is that I want the firing rate increased slightly, and I want the increased damage. The reason I want the increased damage is, with one damage boost, one bullet will always kill one squirt. And the only importance of the fang repeater is to kill squirts. So If I have one of these and I have one of these, I will be able to unload bullets at a decent clip, each of which is guaranteed to kill one squirt. Now, the reason I don't want to do both improved firing rate upgrades is that I will shoot bullets very fast. Like, I will unload bullets all over the place. However, those bullets are not each guaranteed to kill a squirt. So that is my rationale. Now, that said, the current world record holder in this category is Red Buddha, and he runs with both firing rate upgrades. I believe Lawyer Dog does as well. This is just how I do this. You can go with both firing rate upgrades if you want, or you can go with both damage upgrades if you think that's appropriate. I think it's probably not a good idea to go with both damage upgrades, but you can either do one of each, or you can do both firing rate upgrades. You definitely need both ammo capacity upgrades, and you need both seek out foes. So, that's kind of where it is. As always, you can try different things. This is, I believe, what is fastest. This combination or both firing rate upgrades. But I don't know. Maybe it turns out that getting the faster reload is actually fastest. I'm not sure. That's something you could also try. So that's the Fang Repeater. There's a lot of options there. You've seen what I use. If you don't feel particularly creative, just do what I do. Then you have the musket, which you might or might not be using. If you're using it, you pretty much want all the left upgrades. So this first upgrade is increased range and decreased spread. So this makes the arc of the musket shots a little bit less wide, which is pretty nice for clearing out swaths of stuff. And it also increases the range, which is extra nice. Both of these upgrades increase damage. This upgrade here reduces the long-range damage penalty, which makes it very nice for killing things at a distance, especially because you have this range increase. And the final upgrade allows you to fire 2 shots at once, so it makes the musket deal a really significant amount of damage each time you fire it. So this is why we pick all the left upgrades. If you pick any of the right upgrades, this increases the spread, which makes it even worse, in my opinion, in a lot of ways. This gives you knockback, which you just do not want. Ditto for this one. This one gives you faster reload, which 99% of the time is irrelevant. And this one causes shots to cripple foes, which you don't give a crap about. So, when you're shooting something with the musket, you're trying to kill it, not cripple it. So that's the musket. All left upgrades on the musket. Pike, once again, all left upgrades. The important thing about the pike is you want to crit things to death. So here's a 15% crit chance buff. Here's a 50% crit damage buff. Here's 20% faster thrust attacks. No-brainer right there. Swinging your pike faster is better. Here's some increased damage. And then here's attacks ignore armor. All these things are great. If you look on the right side, everything sucks. Faster throw reload, you don't give a crap. You're never throwing the spear. If you're throwing the spear, you're dumb. Thrust attacks cause knockback, you don't want that. It'll just make it harder to kill things. Throw attacks can stun, who cares? You're not throwing the pike. Faster throw reload, again, same thing. And then +1 spear per throw, same thing. So don't bother with the right upgrades, it's all left for pike. So far, all left for hammer, all left for musket, all left for pike. Fang Repeater, a little bit different, don't forget. And then finally the mortar. The mortar ends up being kind of a mix, and this is not actually set up for what you think it might be set up for. So I don't use the mortar in New Game Plus any percent. As a result, this is not set up for New Game Plus any percent. Now, if I recall, I believe you wanted to do all right upgrades on New Game Plus any percent. So the right upgrades are faster reload, increased crit chance, more damage, increased crit chance, and immunity to bomb damage. This one you want, period. Now, what I have instead is I have this increased aiming speed and increased power shot damage. The reason I have this is I'm using this file for New Game Plus all story levels. That's the only reason. So if you're looking for which upgrades you should pick for the mortar for New Game Plus any percent, you should pick all right upgrades. These other ones, like increased blast radius, is really not going to do anything for you. Aiming speed, meh. You're usually shooting point blank. Blast radius, again. Power shot damage, you're usually shooting point blank, so you won't be power shotting. And then bombs create damage fields is just irritating, and that means that you still take damage from bombs, and you just don't want that. So all right upgrades for the Galleon Mortar. So again, to recap, hammer, all left. Musket, all left. Pike, all left. Mortar, all right. Fang repeater, the top 3 on the left, and then the bottom 2 on the right, unless you want to get both firing rate upgrades. That's up to you. Alright, so now that we've talked over all these things, let me tell you a little bit about your weapon selection. So, as mentioned, you're only going to use the hammer and fang repeater until you get to the arsenal. Once you do, you're switching to either pike musket or pike mortar. And which one you switch to is kind of a playstyle decision. So, pike musket is my personal choice. The reason I use pike musket is that I like the musket for blowing up obstacles later on. It's very good for that in New Game Plus because of all the upgrades. It is a very targeted obstacle destroyer. It shoots out right in front of you and reaches a pretty long distance, and it's pretty good. The downside to pike musket is that there's not really an effective, fast, optimal way to kill Sir Lunky. You just hit him a whole bunch. Also, it makes the Queen and quick kill very slightly slower. So that's kind of the drawback of the pike musket combo. Now pike mortar, the advantage is I basically just set them forth, which is that Queen Anne, you basically kill her with 1 mortar shot. And Sir Lunky, you can kill him with a couple mortar shots if you're lucky. It's more like mortar, pike, musket, mortar, or something. But it should work pretty well, and you should be able to kill him unless you get unlucky. So that's the main advantage of pike mortar. The disadvantage is clearing obstacles, particularly at the beginning of Burstone Quarry, is a little bit slow. So it is really up to you which one you want to pick. I use pike musket. I believe Red Buddha uses pike musket. Inkalex uses pike mortar. And there's other runners who probably have, who have their own kind of ideas on which ones to use. So I'm really not going to steer you in any particular direction. There isn't a beginner choice, there isn't an intermediate choice or anything. I would say they're both approximately equal in terms of difficulty, they're just different. So pick whichever one you feel more comfortable with and go with that. And you'll equip those when you get to the Arsenal and Wharf District. So that said, before I continue, normally I'm playing on this file as my New Game Plus all story levels run, and so you see that I have use interact bound to something that is not mouse wheel down, because I don't want to duplicate items. On all story levels, if you duplicate an item, well, if you duplicate a core, you actually end the run, because you can't finish it. So, I bind it to numpad 4. The reason I bind it to something weird like that is that I have a Razer Naga mouse, so I have a 4 right on the side of my mouse, so it's very convenient to press. But I'm going to press mouse wheel down right here. So, now we're going to start New Game Plus. Beginning is the very same as in New Game, except for this extra narration right here.
Proper story is supposed to start at the beginning. Ain't so simple with this one. Now here's a kid whose whole world got all twisted, leaving him stranded on a rock in the sky.
So
he
get up.
gets up.
Again, you
Sets off
can't
for the
roll
Bastion,
until you get a melee
where
weapon,
everyone
so
agreed
you gotta
to
just
go
walk
in
for a
case of
bit.
trouble. Ground forms up under his feet as it pointing the way. He don't stop to wonder why. Finds his lifelong friend just
Now we
lying
pick up
in
the...
road.
I am 99% certain I just rebound this. Oh, I rebound something stupid like an idiot. There we go.
Well, it's a touching reunion.
So now we do
He
the
sees what's
rolls.
left of the rippling walls. Years of work undone in an instant.
Same thing right here, we're gonna
In the
bypass this
calamity,
guy.
That a survivor. No, ma'am.
Okay, go to the fountain.
Gas fella. Forced out from underground. Sometimes
We're
you
gonna
just
pick up the
need a
fang
drink.
repeater, we'll go back up. And here's the first place where the
Gotta
homing
hold her
bullets are gonna
still,
shine.
spin up the
Let me
chamber.
clear all these obstacles. I'm gonna stand right about here, on the right side of the pool.
A school
This is
of
very
squirts
easy, just
tunnels up
hold to the
around
left, shoot
Must have
bullets, and then
fled
sweep
here for
across, then
miles.
go inside. It's a really simple strategy, and it should pretty consistently kill all those
He
dudes.
sets
Now
foot
again,
inside one of
kill
Celandia's
Rondi.
famous watering holes. Wait,
I'll break some
Have an
stuff
eye.
just because I feel like it.
anyway,
Pick up
Rondi's
the
place just
shield.
brings back memories. Then
All this
Kid
should be
finds
very,
his
very
trusty
familiar. Warp
shield.
District is very similar on both
The
difficulties.
security takes
Alright,
him
now
for
since I have the
any
upgrade
thief.
hammer, this guy's a one-shot.
Special delivery.
And then ditto
Gas
for these
fellas.
guys.
Windbags start turning up for last call.
So just kill everything, one shot with the hammer, one shot with the hammer, so
More
on.
squirts start
And then what you're
coming
gonna do
out
is
of the
position
woodwork.
yourself about here and just shoot bullets.
A big
and
old
everything
fella
should die.
pops out in front of the kid.
Just sweep across the room, go back and forth. Remember, you have to kill all but 2. So there it is, and I leave. So that's really, really straightforward.
He gets a good look
Much,
at
much
things on his
easier in
way
New Game
down.
Plus than it is in New Game. Now here again, we'll do
He
the
lands on
rolls
top of a
slightly.
breaker's bow, and it ain't
Instead of
broke.
going directly this way, we'll go slightly down, and that will get us around the wall, even with bad timing. Now we're gonna skip
Good
the
news is
whirlwind
emergency defenses
here
still
because we
work.
don't need it.
Bad news is they
Now we
aim
just
for
shoot
the
these
kid.
dudes.
He finds the distillery.
Open
right
the
next to
distillery.
the arsenal.
Now what you're gonna do
Tough part of town.
is you're going
One
to
sip of
equip
the spirits
champagne,
in that
and
distillery,
champagne's at the
and
very
kid'll
bottom
feel
of
like
this.
a new man.
So what you can do to get to it quickly is you click on this, move the mouse cursor aside, hit up, and then click. So I actually can't like redo that, but you get the idea. Click up, click up, click. All right, and then again position your mouse here, escape, click. So now you've got
The
champagne.
arsenal's
That is
where
the
kid can
only
pick
spirit
the
you're
best
using.
tools for the job.
Now you come to the arsenal. On top of the you replace the hammer with the pike, and then you replace the fang repeater with either the mortar or the musket, depending on what your strategy is. I'm gonna do musket, and then what I might do afterwards is show off mortar as well. And then equip pike vault. Pike vault, super important in this run. In fact, pike vault will be important literally
Some of
right
them
now.
squirts
So you
bursting
get to
like
the barge,
crazy in a couple of
and then you just,
coordinates.
you know, you
The
kill the
old ferry
dudes, you get them
barge
out of the way.
sends
You
the
don't have
kid
to
on
stand
his
right
way.
here
The
anymore, you can stand
Bastion's
here or
real
something.
close now.
Shoot stuff, whatever.
Right back at you.
And then right now, okay, so right now we're coming up upon the final area. And what I'm going to wait for is I'm going to wait for the final, like the top corner of the final area to appear here. And then I'm going to do a pike vault across. This pike vault, unfortunately, I can't show you exactly where it is, and I can't retry once I fail it. But basically, you're going to get at the bottom of the barge, roll north toward the corner, and pike vault off the top edge of it. And if I get it, I will land just off the edge of the platform, and everything will be good. So watch this. So there's the top corner. There's the pike vault, okay? So I can't show you that again, unfortunately. So now I'm also going to pike vault through this door. So you don't have to wait for the other gas fellow to
Finds the
spawn. You just
core
pike vault
to
right
the
through.
Wolf District.
Pick up
He
the core,
steals the city's heart.
and then do
Might as
stuff.
well.
So I'm actually going to restart this level and show you again.
I'll see you in the next one. Proper story's supposed to start at the beginning. Ain't so simple with this one. Now here's a kid whose whole world got all twisted, leaving him stranded on a rock in the sky. He gets up, sets off for the Bastion, where everyone agreed to go in case of trouble. Ground
So-
forms up under his feet as it pointing the way.
Basically,
He don't stop
another
along
one of the
the
main
way.
differences in this run, New
Finds
Game
his
Plus versus
lifelong
New Game,
friend, just lying
is
in the road.
you're going to
Well,
use
it's
pike vault a
touching
whole lot
reunion.
more,
He sees
since
what's
obviously
left
you
of
get
the rippling
access to it
walls.
immediately.
Years of work
And it turns
undone
out
in
pike
an
vault
instant.
allows you to skip
In the
fairly
calamity,
significant chunks
let
of
a
several
survivor.
levels.
No
Hanging
man.
Gardens
It's a
becomes
gas fella. Forced out
ridiculously
from
fast.
underground.
Okay, so what I just did there was
Sometimes
I
you just
locked
need
my
a drink.
camera. If you see, the camera gets locked on the fountain. This happens if you get to the fountain too quickly. And one thing that you can actually do to
Gotta
fix
hold her
it
still
is
to
you can
spin up
roll
the
off
chamber.
the side
A
of the
school of
level,
squirts tunnels
and that will
up
unlock
around
a
it.
camera. So what I would do is I would hit the fountain, get camera locked, I would come down here and roll right off here. And then when I land back on the ground, the camera will unlock, and then I'll come back and get the fang repeater, and come back up here. And the one problem here is if you get the camera lock, that actually makes the timing for getting
wonder the old
killing the
saloon's still
squirts
standing.
really tight.
Used to have
So
the
you
nicest
don't have
view.
enough time to clear all the walls. And on New Game Plus that doesn't matter as much, but on New Game that's actually a big deal because the squirts will get caught on the walls, and also if you hit the walls with your hammer, that causes extra lag frames. So ideally, you kind of don't want to get the camera lock. If you're like at the top of top levels, you might want to specifically get it because it saves maybe 0.2 seconds, but otherwise you don't really want it. In any case, we go inside the Soul Regret. We'll roll north and immediately shoot Rondi. I believe it takes 4
He sets foot
Fang
inside one of
shots to hit him,
Solania's famous
to kill him.
watering holes. Wait.
Of course, it's very hard to
Anyway.
only shoot 4 with the
Anyway,
upgrades.
Rondi's place just brings back memories. Then Kid finds his trusty
again,
shield.
Open this thing.
The security takes him for
Because
a
you have
thief.
upgrades, it doesn't matter what kind of attack you do there.
Special delivery.
You can actually position
Gas
yourself out here,
Windbags start turning up for last call.
get some quick kills on those things, give some potions.
More squirts
around.
start coming out of the woodwork.
Position yourself right here and shoot everything.
A big
Except
old
if you
fella
delay
pops
long
out
enough,
in
things
front
will
of the
get
kid.
close to you. And if things get close to you, then the bullets will just circle around in front of you doing literally nothing. So you don't really want to do that.
He gets a good look at things on his way down.
So again, you'll roll
He lands
just
on top of a
slightly
breaker's
off
bow,
the direct
and
path.
ain't
So the
broke.
direct path being this way. And you'll just roll slightly south of that. And you'll get around that wall.
Good news is
Skip
the
the
emergency
whirlwind.
defenses still work.
Kill these dudes.
Bad news is they're aiming for the kid. He finds
And
the
now again,
distillery
it's going to be click,
right next to the arsenal.
click, move
Tough
mouse
water
over here,
town.
up, click. Which is a little bit funky, but if you
The
practice it, you'll
arsenal's
get
where the
used to
kid
it pretty
can pick
quickly.
the best tools for
And
the
then
job.
pike, musket for me, otherwise mortar, pike vault. Another thing to note is you'll notice I only have 6 weapons here. I have the hammer, the repeater, the musket, the pike, and the mortar, and I actually have the bow. Having the bow is actually an accident. When I was doing one of these runs, I accidentally picked up the bow, and I was just like, whatever, screw it. But you actually only want to have the things that you're actually going to use. So you don't want to have a whole lot of random extraneous spirits in the distillery, and you don't want to have any weapons aside from the hammer, repeater, pike, musket, and mortar. So it's actually not that hard to set up. If you do a new game all story levels run, which is a full game run, use Lawyer Dog's guide as a guide, you will only get these 5 things. And just avoid picking up anything else, avoid buying any other spirits or any other secret skills or anything like that, and you'll end up with a nice clean list. And then just keep doing New Game Plus runs on that file, and don't pick up anything else, and you'll be fine. In any case, I've set up my loadout, so let's continue on.
Some
We're
of
going to
them
go back to the
squirts
barge.
birthing like crazy.
Again, we'll kill these turrets. It doesn't matter
The
if we
old
kill
ferry
these turrets or
barge
not.
sends the kid on
I
his
just like to
way.
kill
The
them
Bastion's
because
real
I like to have
close now.
something to do on the barge, but it just does not matter. And then we're going to go for the pike vault. So do we see the corner of the thing? There it is.
And
then I
falls to
failed it.
his
So
death.
if you fail it, you're going to fall
I'm
off,
just
and
fooling.
that first fall costs you 3.5 seconds. And then we'll pike vault
He
through
finds
here.
the core
But yeah,
of the
that
Wolf District.
that
He
3.5
steals the
second
city's
fall,
heart.
and
Might
then
as well. Well,
like,
down he goes. Down.
not doing
toward
the pike vault
Bastion.
costs you
Now the
some
kid
small
sees
number of
something
seconds.
stranger still. His mind races.
But otherwise, it's not a huge deal. So don't worry too much if you miss that pike
Did
vault.
anybody else
It's
survive?
actually fairly
Sure
challenging,
enough,
and
he
you
finds
don't.
another. He
It's
finds
hard
me.
to practice because it's at the
Just
end of
like
Wharf
that,
District,
the Bastion
and the
comes
only
alive.
easy way to retry it is to
Starts
just
growing
run through the
again.
first 2.5 minutes of
Growing
Wharf District
stronger.
again. So.
Kid's gotta put its power
fun.
to good use. Now
So
the
once again, when
Bastion
you get to the
can send it
Bastion, it's
even
the same
farther
deal. When the
into the
screen is
wild
scrolling
unknown.
back from the Skyway, scroll your scroll wheel. Now
Kid
here's the
does it
difference.
again.
You
On
can
the ferry,
build
he decides what we
whatever
build
you
next.
want here. It literally does not matter. You're going to build whatever in whatever spot you want. I mean, okay. You're always going to build in the top 4 spots. But on this run, you're not going to have to build down here in the bottom left. And you're also not going to care what buildings you build. And then whatever buildings you build, you're always going to upgrade the top left, top right, and middle right. And you're not going to upgrade the middle left. So you just scroll the
Kid
scroll wheel.
ponders
So
what
what
to
you want to do
build.
is have your mouse on the left side of the screen. scroll the scroll wheel to interact, and then just immediately click. And it doesn't matter what you're mousing over, you'll just build it. So I built the forge. Good for me.
Kid don't know what's out there waiting for him.
So this same skip with this narration here you want to do, where you walk over that imaginary line in that platform to get here and skip the narration. And then, again, the first level is Workman Ward. Melting Pot is still long and terrible, and Sundown Path still doesn't have a core. So remember, we're doing the same first 6 levels that we did in New Game Any %. The only difference is at the end, instead of doing Prosper Bluff and Wild Outskirts, we're going to do Burstone Quarry. So now we're off to Workman Ward. Workman Ward, a lot of the same stuff applies from New Game Any %, which is that be
Now he
careful not
lands
to
at the
fall.
intersection
There's no
between
pike
bad
vaults
and
here.
wrong.
There's nothing really to skip. The only major difference is you're going to get to the foreman, and you're going to dispatch him with one
Ought to
pike
be a
thrust,
core down one
and
of
if that
these
doesn't
twisted
crit,
streets.
you're going to also do a
But which
musket
one?
shot.
And there it is.
So you're going to get to
But
about
it's locked
here,
down tight
pike
in
musket.
alloy
Okay,
cage.
so I got him with
Now there's a
the
new
pike shot,
marshal
which is
in
cool.
town. Almost
But
like
yeah,
he's showboating
that's really,
the
really
crowd.
straightforward.
He
It's
is
just
old,
pike,
big's
musket,
grown.
the
He's too
foreman.
tough to
So I'm
follow.
not even going to bother repeating that level.
He comes back, just like I knew he would. The core hums in his path.
Alright, so
The
again,
monument's
make sure
calling
you
for
don't
him.
clip your second roll.
The old world's finished, but the new world's
Drop your
just
2
getting
cores.
started.
And then you want to position your mouse cursor in about the
cores,
middle
they remember.
of the left side of the
That's
screen.
why this
So if
place
you
is
need to
coming
use
together.
move it off the
That's
screen
why
to do
things
that,
are
that
gonna be
works.
all right.
And here, build whatever. Now you're
We
not
tracked
going to
down
be
a
able to
couple
get a
more
skip for this
cores near the
narration
edge of
here.
the city.
We don't have one for that yet, and you're going to Hanging Gardens. Alright, so Hanging Gardens is substantially
The dead.
different than in New Game.
Dead ain't gotta worry
And there's a
about this mess.
reasonably challenging pike vault here that you're going to want to learn. Basically, the way I recommend doing things is I recommend you learn New Game Any % pretty strongly before you continue on to New Game Plus Any %. Not everyone will necessarily agree with that, but that's how I feel. Because all the strats in New Game Plus Any % are the same, except with slight additions. So that means all you would have to do once you get to learning New Game Plus is learn the new strats, and then you're good to go. So in this case, for Hanging Gardens, the strats are identical to New Game Any %, but there's a major skip. So here, let me show you. You're going to start doing the same
calamity
movement.
Took everybody after all.
Being
Kids
careful
see some
not to
plain,
fall.
Frozen faces all around. These folks never saw the
Which I just
calamity
did.
coming.
Falling
But
here is
someone
super
did.
easy, so don't be
Someone
surprised.
close.
And you're going to roll right here, and then what you're going to do is you're actually going to pike vault from this platform. And get closer. Down here. And that's not too difficult, but it can be finicky. And certainly people have had problems with it. So the way that I set this up most effectively is when I'm rolling from here, I kind of do 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I end up right next to these blocks, these rubbles. And then I pike thrust through them to destroy them. Then I have a pretty good timing to walk a tiny bit and then roll off this bottom corner here. If you see that little corner there of the ground, I'm rolling off that directly south and pike vaulting from there. So you get to about here, pike out those things, walk in, pike vault. So you got to be careful with your timing, but once you get it, it's not that bad. Now here's the thing.
Can't do nothing to get his attention.
If you talk to Zulf right now, you're screwed because you don't have the core yet. So you can't do that. So instead, you need to get out this gate, which is easier said than done. This is not the easiest gate to clip through. So instead, you're going to do a second pike vault. So you need to have 2 black tonics in order to do this. You're only going to start with 3, which means if you miss this more than once, you're done. You're going to have to do backup strats. Backup strats is literally do the level the same way you would have done it in New Game Any %, and that will cost you a huge amount of time. But that's alright. If you're, if it's like your first run, it's not a huge deal. So you're going to get down here, and then where you want to pike vault is over this way. I actually screwed that up. I would like these guys to kill me. Well, in any case, get to the door, pike vault in that direction. It's actually not super difficult. It just looks weird. So I'm going to get killed, and I'll show you guys again. At full speed.
Kid can't take the sight of this place.
So remember that we have champagne, which means we have no chances to carry on. And
Now
that makes
here's
it
what
much
really
easier to
happened
reach high
in
levels
the
because I
Hanging
can just
Gardens.
die once.
The calamity took everybody after all. Kid sees it plain, frozen faces all around. These folks never saw the calamity coming, but someone did. Someone close.
Alright, my timing was slightly off there. Roll, roll. Okay, that was a mistake. I want to roll left and do that. And then once I get over here, I'll just shoot the musket one time to get things out of the way. So because this is such a short level, I will do that one more
Kid
time.
can't take the sight of this place no more.
I really want you guys to get a good idea of exactly how the skips work, and one way to do that is to demonstrate
The
them
dead
several times.
welcome him with open arms.
And hopefully that will make it
The calamity
more
took
easy to
everybody
tell
after all.
what
Kid
is
sees it
actually
plain, frozen
going
faces
right
all
to get the
around.
skip to
These
work.
folks never saw the calamity coming, but someone did. Someone close.
Alright, so then you come into the same spot that you did in New Game Any Percent. Dupe the core,
And then, what do you say
And
to a
do the
man who's seen
two
too
rolls.
much? Kid hasn't a clue.
and then you
But
talk
he
to
says
Zolf.
this: we have to go. Please. He's a proper gentleman, that man. His name is Zolf. No hiding he's an Ura. Folks like him ain't never been a common sight in Ceylon.
And this is my third raid of the day on the day that
He's
I'm doing
relieved to
a
see a living face or
tutorial
two.
stream.
The kid and I
So that's pretty
introduce
funny.
ourselves in
I thank you
kind.
guys for raiding again. This
Both
is
to
a
him
tutorial
and to
for
each
Bastion
other
to Any Percent,
for the
both New
first
Game and
time.
New Game Plus. So if you're into this, I hope you enjoy it. So once again, just like in New Game, you're going to aim this direction. Roll once past Zolf and drop in your two
much
cores.
compared to what the kids had to go through for all this. Kids
And then,
surprised when
again,
they
you'll
thought
go to
there
the
was
middle
only one
right.
core left.
So remember
shouldn't
that
have
once you
looked
drop
at
in the first shard, it's going to make you do an upgrade before it lets you do a build, which means that just like in New Game, you want to build it here on the middle right. You can build whatever you want, does not matter. So, now you're heading to Cinderbrick. Again, there's no Skyway narration, so it'll just let you through.
There's only one way into Cinderbrick Fort.
Alright,
The hard way.
so Cinderbrick Fort, very similar for the first
Sure,
bit.
the city
We're
marshals
going to roll
may
through
be
these
gone,
gates, just like before. You're going
but
to
now
do
the
whatever
fort's crawling
strategy
with
is
bags.
comfortable for you
The
rolling
calamity
around
was
here,
mercy.
which for me is that. And then you're going to skip the musket for obvious reasons. You don't need it anymore, right? You already have it.
ain't much different from normal folks.
So then you're
All
just
they
going to come
want's a
around this
warm place
way.
to stay,
It should just be
just
one
wait.
pike thrust to kill that turret.
Cinderbrick
You'll pick up the
gave 'em
core,
enough heat
and
metal
now we'll get to the
munch
fun
on for a
part.
while.
So
But
when I get
the
up
fort
here,
ain't theirs by right.
all sorts of monsters are going to come. But also what you're going to see is up here there's this section of stuff. This ground area. I would like to get there. So I'm actually going to Pike Vault up there. And this is going to skip... if you remember the horrible section where you have to walk around here, this big long circle, and it doesn't form up very quickly, and so you can't go fast at all, we're going to skip all that. The way we're going to do it is, when we're coming up here, I really shouldn't be coming back here because it activates all these monsters. I'm going to get to about here, and I'm going to like shoot out this wall here. And then what I'm going to do is roll diagonally towards this corner, off the edge of this platform, and Pike Vault. And I gotta get pretty decent aim on this, or I'm gonna have a bad time. So, watch. Yeah, so that's a bad time right there.
Security's playing
So if you
gone
can't get it
haywire.
from around here,
Windbags
that's
gummed up the
okay.
works.
There's a better place to set up that is slightly slower, which is right here. So you can do is get over here and then roll roughly, I want to say it's almost up, but you're going to be rolling from around here diagonally this way, and then you got to change your angle quickly. But that is a lot easier than the other one. Oh, also, very important thing. If you get on this platform and you're out of black tonics, you're done. you're gonna have to go back to the Bastion and redo Cinder Brick Fort. It's not a good time. So don't do that. If you run out of, if you are shorter than 2 black tonics, don't try to come over here because you will have a very bad time. So once you come over here, you're gonna break these things, and then you're gonna get over here by doing the same thing, which is roll off the corner here towards this direction. So not that bad. And then once you get over here, just to get these things out of the way, just musket shot to the north. Again, if you're using the mortar, you won't obviously be able to musket shot, so just, I don't even know, do whatever. So once you get here, there's supposed to be a black tonic here. Give me my black tonic, please. There. Okay. So remember on New Game, we blew out these things, and then rolled in behind here. Well, that's slow, so instead on New Game Plus, we're just going to pike vault in, and then get the step. So, what I'm going to do now is die, and then do everything a lot more fastly. Wow, nice swing.
And that's why Cinder Brick's got such a bad reputation.
Alright. So, this level is pretty straightforward compared to New Game. It's basically the same. It's really those pike vaults that are the difference. And it's really the 2 big ones that are the main difference. I would call those probably an intermediate strat because they are actually reasonably precise. But, you know, if you've done New Game, you can learn them.
Windbags ain't much different from normal folks. All they want's a warm place to stay and a decent meal. Cinder Brick gave them enough heat and metal to munch on for a while. Well, the fort ain't theirs by right.
Failure. Oh well. So there's also a backup black tonic right here if you need it.
Windbags gummed up the works.
Nice shot. So there's your backup strat. Get over here. If you're going to do the musket shot, you want to walk just a little bit forward before you do it, because otherwise you'll fall off.
They trapped the kid in the middle
Pike
of
vault
the
in
fort's
there.
parade grounds.
And then you're good. So that's Cinder Brick Fort. I'm not going to really belabor that level. There's a lot of time that I can spend just showing you the nuances of those pike vaults. But honestly, just look at what I did and then just try it. It's really not that bad.
And now ain't nothing left for nobody down at Cinder Brick Fort. Kid shows up just as Zulf's telling me about.
So again, we're going to drop in the 7th core and the 1st shard. We're going to upgrade the memorial, whatever we built on the middle right. And then we're going to build anything in the top right, and then we're going to go to Rothus Lagoon. So I won't repeat this Bastion section either, because there's no point.
A single shard can breathe new life into this place. The shard's got enough
also, we don't need to pick up any
places.
valediction, any memorials or anything like that, because there's no point. Unfortunately,
wilds.
we don't have a skip
So
for this
much
narration
that
in New Game Plus, so you just have to wait for him to finish talking, and then you can travel to Rothus. Rothus Lagoon is very, very similar to New Game. There's no pike vaults, but there's a slight difference. So remember that at the beginning, you want to hold the mouse down and roll around that barrier and then get past the log. Now, here you can just pike right through those barriers. So that's very nice. You can pike through that log. Now, right here, what you're going to see is there's a pike, right? And then notice how long it takes Queen Anne to pop up there if I go into the grass. That is because on New Game, when I pick up the pike, it delays me just long enough that Queen Anne becomes ready to pop out of the grass. What I mean by ready is, go back up here actually. So, hello, I totally misread the ground there. So, let me kill this thing. So once you come by here, what you might notice is that Queen Anne appears in this grass to kill someone. And then she kind of goes over this way and disappears around here. So while she's doing that on New Game, you're going down here, and you're getting here, and you're picking up the pike. So in the meantime, she finishes doing that, and then finally, by the time you walk into this grass here, she's ready to give you a boost. On New Game Plus, you skip the pike. So you come right down here, and by the time you get in the grass, she's still doing that crap, which means she won't be ready to boost you. So if I go straight into the grass after skipping the pike, I'm going to be waiting for like 3 or 4 seconds for Queen Anne to give me a boost. So that is pointless. Instead, I'm going to do a clip here, and so you can do the Queen Anne boost. If you know how to do the Queen Anne boost, you can totally do that. That's acceptable. But this strat is faster. I would rate this probably intermediate. What you're going to do is get right along this skull, and you're going to roll basically right by here on this wall. It's a little bit finicky. What you want to do is roll by it and then immediately like hook your roll this way. Not a hard hook, not like this, but you want to go hook so that you land on the right edge of this little block right here. So it's hard to describe, so I'll show you. Like that. In fact, I hooked a little too hard, which is what I was saying not to do. But it's not actually that difficult. So that's what you're going to do. And when you do that the first try, and don't fall here. So here, once you get over here, this ground is going to be really uncooperative. So just be careful, though. If you do all that first try,
Queenie leads the kid
then everything's
going to
work out.
Twisted trap.
Something that I just totally glossed over. When you get to this area,
one bad step in that tall grass, and he's Queen
you're supposed to kill this guy. The fastest way to kill him, if you have the mortar, is to fastest way to kill him if you have the musket is to shoot a musket shot at him. Fastest way to kill him if you have the mortar is to point blank mortar shot him. Either one works pretty well. The mortar's a little bit more annoying when you're not doing the Queen Anne boost because it's a little bit harder to set up.
Rothus Lagoon.
Anyway, let me show you again
sort of
what that looks like.
Go by choice.
At full speed.
Many a tale folks used to scare their children straight originated here. They used to think that ankle gators
Also, you got to be careful on these rolls because you're going
they
pretty good clip. It's very easy to outpace the ground.
Grass. Turns out Queen Anne got a hold of a shard. Ankle gators love shiny things. Queenie leads
then we're
the
gonna
kid
roll around
into
the
some
south
kind
that
of twisted
thing.
Trap. The closer you get
And then
to
it turns out on New Game
the
Plus,
thicker the
by the
tall
time you get to
grass
this
grows.
clearing, Queen
One
Anne
bad
is ready to
step
give
in
you a
that tall
boost. So this is
grass
what the
and it's
boost looks
Queen
like.
Anne's lunch.
See if I can do it a
They
second
say
time.
you can't hurt an ankle gator
I actually
unless it's
almost did.
raining. And it
Get in the
ain't
grass, and you just boost around. Now, let me explain exactly how that works. I don't want to gloss
raining. They
over
make
it.
a tasty
You
snack.
want to get a boost from her around here, and you want to go about the halfway point of this little set of whatever this looks like, ribs or something. So you want to go around here. So you're going to roll south around here, and then you're going to hook around. And you do have to hook very sharply here. So I'm going to get in the grass. And I need to hook pretty sharp to get over here. And then once I get that, everything's fine. And then, just as on New Game, roll
Can't get hasty
past the
in a
north
place
side
like
there.
this.
Did I not trigger the wall?
Want to know how to
there we
find
go.
an ankle
That was
gator
weird.
lair? You use a kid.
And then, once again with Queen Anne, there's an interesting story in terms of how you're going to defeat her. So you don't have to kill her, but there's a decent chance you're going to kill her. There's 2 ways you can handle this. One is, if you have the mortar, you could have equipped Whiskey at the beginning of the game, and you could one-shot her by being at low HP and using the mortar at point blank after triggering her. That's a little bit of a time waste because you have to equip the Whiskey, so you'd rather not do that. However, if you point blank mortar her, you should drive her down to enough health that she will open the Skyway. Now if you don't have the mortar, you've got to do a slightly slower strat. You're going to activate her, make her pop up, and you're going to pike, musket, pike, pike. And there's actually a decent chance that you'll kill her just by critting the pike thrusts. But even if you don't, she should open up. So let me show you. So I'm going to pick up the shard because I don't have Whiskey and don't need the health. I don't need low health.
Now she's coming.
She's going to get here.
She's got no.
I'll roll over the trigger. Pike, musket, pike, pike. And that actually killed her.
Rest in peace, Queen Anne. That was for the brushes.
So I'm going to show
The
this level
shards
one more
sit in
time
plain view.
by killing myself.
Want to get eaten by an ankle gator?
Okay. So again,
Roll
start
test
off,
the room.
aim to the bottom
That ain't
left,
the sort of place you'd
roll
wanna
around
go
the
by
barrier and get
choice.
past the log before it drops.
Many a tale
You gotta
folks
do
used
this
to scare
fast
their
at the
children
beginning.
straight originated
But this part
here.
is fine. You can take your time on this part.
They used to think that ankle gators were extinct. Well, they ain't. Turns out Queen Anne got a hold of a shard. Ankle gators love shiny things. He holds his ground. Seems the Queen's running out of options. Queenie leads the kid into some kind of twisted trap. The closer you get to an ankle gator's lair,
That was actually
the
a really
thicker
good
the tall
Rothus.
grass grows. One bad step in that tall grass, and he's Queen Anne's lunch.
Pick up
Want to
some
know how to
stuff.
find an ankle
If
gator
you want,
lair,
you can kill this
they use
dude
the
because
kid as
your
bait.
pike pierces
Now
armor, so you
she's
can kill him
coming for
easily.
him. She's got nowhere else to go.
I actually don't remember if this activates
The
the camera.
shard's
It doesn't.
sitting
No,
in
so you
plain
have to do
view.
pike, musket, pike, pike.
Rest in peace, Queen Anne.
And that's
That
it.
was for the brushers. Kids
So don't mind
done
that thing
what
that I
needed
just
to be
tried at the
done.
end. But pike, musket, pike, pike works out. That's pretty good.
Queen Anne's reign is over.
So,
We even got a
now we're
crown
back
jewel.
at the Bastion. Again, we're going to drop in 2 cores, shards. And then we're going to upgrade the top right building.
All that
And then we're
trouble
headed
for
in
a
Colford
single
Cauldron
shard.
again.
But you know
And
what?
there's literally
It
nothing
was-
different about Colford Cauldron. Because of the fact that you get Pike Vault in the
It
new
ain't
game
too
any
late
percent
to
run,
unlock the
you
potential
also
of
have
this
it
place.
here. So if you want, you can try to do the CC skip if you're feeling particularly ballsy.
The arsenal's complete.
If you're not, no
in case
problem.
we
Just do
need
the normal
protection.
backup strats and
Bastion ain't
everything's
gonna
fine.
build itself.
You also use the Pike Vault right at the beginning to get through. Everything else is identical. There's nothing... So what I'm going to do right here, actually,
Not
is since I
everything
didn't do
blew
this
up in
last
the
time,
calamity.
I will play the best Colford Cauldron
Why,
that I can
Colford
play and
Cauldron
show what that
here
looks
blew
like.
up way ahead of its time. The cauldron boiled over some 300 years ago. They say it filled the skies with ash and the lakes with molten rock. As for us, we learned an
Oh,
awful
one
lot
difference
from
is that
Colford
you can
Cauldron.
actually use
Sure, we dusted off
the
a good
musket
many
now
secrets out here,
to blow up
but we discovered
brambles. It will
other
be
things
slightly
we're
better and more
off not
efficient
knowing.
than the Pike.
After all, when we look down inside
One more chance of
Colford
this.
Cauldron,
Didn't get it. Oh well. So backup strats.
all sorts of awful things crawling underfoot. Look down through all the smoke and flames. We had to have it.
So what you saw there is that I did not stop
As
at the
for
core to
kid,
get the
he just has to
dupe.
get that shard. out of there.
I would recommend
Too
that when
bad
you're
taking
first
that
learning this
thing
game,
woke
you
up every
always
last stink eye
stop
from
at the
here to
core
Johnson
and make sure
Farm.
that you
Where there's one
carefully
stink eye, there's always more.
check your own
Biggest stink eyes ever
hands,
seen's waiting for
fingers,
on the other
really,
side.
in terms of whether you're gonna get the dupe or
Cauldron's tenants all
not.
gather up to bid the
But
kid a
once you've
fond
gotten
farewell.
confident,
If
you
wanted
should be able to
survive
know
something
how to
like
just
that,
manipulate
you
your
had to learn
finger
to adapt.
at the right time, the right amount, in order to get the dupe.
It comes back.
It's not
looking
super
like the
difficult
inside of a
once you get
chimney.
past that part. Alright, so again, we're going to drop in the 2
The shard
shards
works like a
and
charm.
upgrade the top left
You can hear
building,
the
which
monument's
is...
heartbeat again.
We literally don't care, but in this case, it's the distillery.
The monument's getting better. Zolf sure did a number on it, though. We need an awful
And now we're
bit
heading to
lost
the
and
final
found under the circumstances.
So remember,
High
the
time
final
we
level
built
is
something
Burstone
new.
Quarry, and before I go there, I'll just set it up a little bit. Burstone Quarry, you've got to kind of get through it quickly, and then kill Sir Lunky quickly, which is easier said than done. Particularly, I'm doing this with Pike and Musket, so much easier said than done. If I were doing it with Pike and Mortar, it would be a little more luck-based. Pike and Musket can pierce armor, so it's a little less luck-based, but still slower, probably. And then you're gonna leave, and you've got to do the Bastion invasion sequence. And that sequence actually kind of sucks a lot. I'm gonna talk about how to do it optimally, but some of the strats are a little bit dangerous, so you might want to be a little bit more careful, and I'll talk about how to do that. So to start with, what we're going to do is roll up to the left and shoot out a bunch of debris using the musket.
Imagine
If you have the
everything you
mortar, this
need
is a little
to
bit
build a
slower
city
and
like
irritating,
Zealandia. It
but
takes hard work and planning.
with the
and
mortar,
it
it's,
also takes
musket, it's very
Burstone
straightforward.
Quarry.
We're going to come up here, and once we get
Rattletails
here,
ain't the
this
worst
guy's going to
of it
start
either,
shooting crap.
but more about
We're going to
that
pike
in a little
vault,
bit.
I'll just
Same
add, we're going to
goes
pike
for
vault from
tornadoes.
here
Rattletails.
across to here. So I'm gonna wait for this guy to stop shooting. Normally, if you just go through, you'll get there
The quarry
at perfect
came with a
timing and he won't
lifetime
be shooting.
supply of windbags.
Then we're gonna
Not
come
only
here.
are
You
these
can kill this
rocks a
guy if you
source of
want. You can
life,
just roll past him carefully.
we found that the oldest one.
And then the next pike vault is
Remember
right here.
things.
We pike vault across to this platform. And this gets us way further
the
into the
quarry
level
free from
and saves a
pests
fairly
turned out
substantial
to
amount of
be a
time.
problem.
The first pike vault's only like a couple of seconds. This one, I think, is on the order of 10 seconds.
Now why would the Ura
Now you just
sell
proceed
off
through the
such
rest of the level as
fascinating
normal. You
place?
can do a lot of
Might be the
rolling.
gods told him
You
the
can roll
quarry's
right
bad
through
news.
here. You don't have to hit any
Those
of the
rocks,
switches, pretty
all
much.
polished to a mirror
Until
sheet.
you get
The
here,
largest ones.
you hit this switch.
You know its
This
cores.
opens up the area where Sir Lunky is.
Remember how I said rattletails ain't the worst thing?
And now
in
you
the quarry?
just stab and shoot him a
Never
whole lot.
could get stubborn
And if you
old
get
monkey
lucky,
to
then
leave
you
the
will
quarry
crit your
alone.
pike
That
thrusts,
honor goes
and
to
everything
a
will be
beast we
fine.
took the
If you
colony.
get unlucky,
Sir
everything's not
Lunky.
fine.
Massive
Alright,
things
now I'm gonna
stopped
die,
many
and I'm
of
gonna
our
do that
boys.
level again.
We just couldn't get rid
It's
of him. Then the kid hears
a little
voice
hard to
calling
talk
from
through
down
some
the
of these
hall.
things without just doing them at high speed. I'm
Just
hoping
takes
that
three things
if you're
to
going to pick
build
up
the
New Game
greatest
Plus,
city
you
in the
already know
world.
New Game enough
It
that
takes
most of this
hard
will seem
work
pretty
and planning,
reasonable.
and it also
Alright, so I
takes
actually missed there
burst
and had to
down quarry.
pike thrust away some
We
extra
bought the
debris.
whole place from the Ura on the cheap.
You see that pike thrust is,
Not only
or
are
pike
these
vault is
rocks a
actually
source of
fairly
life,
forgiving.
Keeping
And that
the
one's not too
quarry
hard.
free from pests turned out to be a problem. We found that the oldest ones.
The ground
remember
forms up
things.
here
Now, why
more
would the
than fast
Ura
enough to
sell
keep
off
up with you
such
the
a
vast majority of
fascinating
times.
place? Might be the gods told him the quarry's bad news. Those rocks,
Pike,
all
pike,
polished to a
shot,
mirror
pike,
sheen.
pike,
The
pike,
largest
pike,
ones.
pike,
You know its
pike.
cores.
Sometimes this
Remember how I
happens.
said rattletails ain't the worst
So the problem
thing
with
in the quarry? that honor goes
ah,
to a beast
darn.
we took the colony.
I don't have anything left to kill
Sir
me.
Lunky. We never could get stubborn old Lunky to leave the quarry alone.
Oh, there's a dude.
Massive things stomped many of our boys. We just couldn't get rid of him. Then the kid hears a voice calling from down the hall. Are you
There we go.
alright?
So I'll show you one more time, and then
Just
we'll move
takes
on
three
to the
things to build the greatest city in the world. It takes hard work and planning, and it also takes Burstone Quarry.
invasion.
Rattletails ain't the worst of it either, but more about that in a little bit. Not only are these rocks a source of life, keeping the quarry free from pests turned out to be a problem. We found that the oldest ones remember things.
This level
Now, why would the
really
Ura
not
sell
too
off
difficult,
such a
but
fascinating
it's
place?
a
Might
little
be the
scary
gods
because
told
of how
him the
much
quarry's bad
space
news.
there is
Those rocks
to
all
potentially
polished
fall
to
through
a
things,
mirror
like right
sheen.
there on Sir
The largest
Lucky.
ones, you know his cores. Remember how I said
Wow, I got
rattletails
2
ain't
crits
the
on him.
worst thing in the
That's
quarry.
pretty good.
That honor
Alright,
goes
so now
to
we're
the
going to call
beast
it
we took the
a
colony.
day for
Sir
Burstone Quarry.
Lunky.
You're
You
just going to
never
come down
could
to the
get
gates and
stubborn
wait
old
until they
Lunky to
open.
leave the quarry alone. Massive things stomped many of our boys. We just couldn't get rid of him. Then the kid hears
You're
a
gonna talk to
voice
Zolf
calling
and hit
from down the
escape.
hall. Are you alright?
As always with
It said.
NPCs, you're going to open the dialogue with them and wait a fraction of a second before pressing
Kid
escape,
hears him,
otherwise it'll eat
but
your
he
key
ain't about
press.
to be deterred.
And now, to be certain that you dupe this core, you gotta wait until you see the X. Either that, or you can figure out a visual cue for when the cage, where the cage is positioned when you get to interact. But just be careful about just scrolling the scroll wheel willy-nilly, because it's distinctly possible that you will prevent yourself from getting the dupe.
If that's the way it is,
And then you
he
just have to
says,
walk to the end.
then I won't stop you.
And you can actually
Of course,
activate
my
this skyway from fairly far away. Right about
The next
there.
part's hard to talk about.
Alright,
No
so
matter
now
how
is the
many times
invasion.
I try.
And this is the time where you've got to either be really conservative or really ballsy.
Say what you will about Zolf, but he's a man of his word.
You have exactly 1 life, and you need to die, but you can't die until you get inside the Bastion. And there's a danger that if you die the moment you get inside the Bastion, you will soft lock your game, and you will not be able to continue. And that one's even worse than the other soft locks I've talked about. It actually doesn't corrupt your save data, but it literally prevents the program from continuing to run. So you don't want that, obviously. So the first step here is you're going to roll directly into this Ura right here. So when you get up, aim straight at him
countrymen don't
and
much
try to
care
hit
for
him.
pleasantries,
And as long as you
though.
aim at him, he should at least attack you.
They got inside the
Alright, then you're
bastion
gonna let
and
these
shut
guys
the
hit you
door. Kid's gotta go in through the back.
until you're at about
Should've seen
33%
this
health. And
coming.
I'm way below that, so I'm
Felt it
actually
in my
very
bones.
scared. And I just killed
Zolf
myself.
showed 'em the way
That's
here.
alright.
And here they came.
If you die here before
To
getting
take on
inside the Bastion, you just continue from the
Zolf was
beginning of
such
the
a cordial
invasion, so that
man
part's
when we
fine.
first met.
So that actually was very bad luck. Like, if I got hit that much, I should actually have used a health potion. Anyway, you roll at this dude.
Don't much care for pleasantries, though.
That'll get him irritated at you.
They got inside the Bastion and shut the door. Kid's gotta go.
You still need him
back.
to hit you at least one more time.
Zol showed him the way.
Close
here,
enough.
and
So
he
you
had
want to
the
get to
game
33%, but you
to
might
take
not.
Revenge.
Okay, so I just got to about
Unfortunately,
33%.
They broke in.
And then the next thing that
And
you
they
want to do
started
is when you're
digging
landing,
their
depending on
holes.
your health level,
Something
you
wrong
want to
sprung
aim
out
yourself
of
at
those
these guys
holes,
and fall on
and
them.
it's eating
Now my health
away at
level is
this
decently
place.
high, but
I
not
couldn't
high
stop
enough
the phone.
to aim at the two guys on the right. So
After
instead
that,
I aimed at the one guy on the left. And that was slightly safer. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to retry this to show you different strats. But basically, you want to aim at the Ura only if you have, like, a decently high amount of
find each
XP.
other
I would
as
say
the dust
around
settles.
33 to 40%. Then you would aim at the one on the left.
Then I
If you
tell
have
him
a really
why
high
the
amount
Ura
of
came.
HP, like 50%, you'd aim at the two on
To
the
get us
right.
back
And when you hit them,
for the
they're basically
calamity.
going to attack you immediately. Like, if you roll into them,
It was
they
Ceylandia's
will
master plan
attack you right away.
to wipe the Ura
And that's pretty much what you want.
But part of that plan
If your health
backfired.
is really low,
didn't it?
what you should do is just
If only
fall.
Zolf knew the whole
Just
story.
fall, and then get up slowly. And that will cost you some time. It will be slower than if you run into them. But it will also make it much less likely that you soft lock. And that's really what you want to avoid there, is soft locking. I want to show off the soft lock, but unfortunately I can't right now. Maybe I'll do a second playthrough on New Game Plus, and we'll see.
The
So anyway,
shards
you've got your
can
final
put
two
this
shards,
disease on
and
a
you've gotten
mission.
through the invasion,
But
so now you
there's
just
only one
walk
cure.
down and
We
drop
need
them
to
both in.
finish what we started.
And then the heart of the Bastion is exactly the
Bastion.
same as on
It's
New Game
finally
80%.
finished.
So you're going to walk to one of the NPCs, interact,
something I want
wait
you
a
to
fraction of a
see.
second, hit escape, walk to the other one, interact, wait a fraction of a second, hit escape, walk to the monument, interact, click an ending after a fraction of a second, and you're done.
Welcome
And
to
that's
the
when
heart
timing
of the
stops,
Bastion.
again, is when you click
I ain't one for long
the ending that you
goodbyes.
want to pick.
So here's the deal. Zia and I figure you done the heavy lifting, so you get to do the honors. We can tell you how to work this thing if you got any questions. Good to see you.
Okay. So that's a New Game Plus any percent run.
It's finished. Now, sit tight. It'll be
I
over
think
soon.
that what I will do is I will do a second New Game Plus any percent run to
No
show
matter
you
what happens next.
what it looks like if you do it
You
with
done
Pike and
good.
Mortar. And I will also intentionally soft lock at the end
I suppose all that's
to
left
show that off.
is to try and remember this moment.
Because I always like to end everything by soft locking. So I'm still on the same profile. I have the same save data, so I'm going to New Game Plus again. And let's go. And I'll just
see
make
you in
sure
the
as I'm
next
going
one.
through, I will call out one by
Proper
one,
story is supposed
like
to
all
start
the
at the
interesting
beginning.
strats. I'll just,
Ain't so
like I
simple
won't
with
slow
this
down
one.
for them, I'll just give you little
Now here's a
reminders
kid whose
as I'm
whole
going.
world got all twisted, leaving him stranded on a rock in the sky. He gets up, sets off for the Bastion, where everyone agreed
So as
to
always,
go
you want to try
gets
to
in
get your
trouble.
cursor positioned
Ground
in the
forms
middle of the
up under his
screen,
feet as
roughly,
it point the
when you
way.
start the game, so
He
that you
don't
don't go
stop to
wandering
wonder
off in a
why.
random direction. The
Finds his
beginning of the game is the
lifelong
only
friend,
time
just
where you
lying in
get,
the road.
while you're getting
Well,
up,
it's a
it
touching
doesn't show you the
reunion.
mouse
He
cursor.
sees what's
I
left
don't know
of the
why,
rippling
it's really
walls.
annoying.
Years of work undone in an instant.
So you don't get to aim
In the
yourself until you
calamity,
actually
that
start
survivor,
moving.
no
So you gotta just
man.
hope that your mouse
It's a
cursor is
gas
already in the
fella,
right position.
forced out
Alright,
from
so there I
underground.
camera locked, so I
Sometimes
fall
you
off.
just need a drink.
That unlocks the camera, so that I can pick up the gun easily.
Gotta hold her still
Break
to
some
spit up
stuff,
the chamber.
and then I'll just go
a
up
school
here,
of squirts tunnels
sweep
up
across.
around them.
Now we'll roll up to the right and kill Sir God, not Sir
He sets foot
Rondi.
inside one of
the bartender?
Ceylandia's famous watering holes. Wait, haven't I? Anyway,
I
Rondi's
destroy some
place
extra
just
things
brings
for
back
swag.
memories. Then Kid finds his trusty shield. The security takes him for a petty thief. Special delivery, gas fellas. Windbags start turning up for last call.
There are alternative ways to get rid of the gas well boxes, like
More squirts
depending
start
on what you're
coming out of the
comfortable with.
woodwork.
That's just the one that I use.
A big old fella pops out in front of the kid.
Again, a lot of just sweeping back and forth to make sure things die.
Kid sees the way to the Bastion out the window.
Alright, so now again we're going to roll just slightly below the direct path to the wall so that we can clip around it
He lands on
without
top
getting
of a breaker's
walled
bowl,
off.
and it ain't broke.
We're going to skip the whirlwind.
Good news is the emergency
Sometimes we might
defenses
fall.
still work. Bad news is they're aiming for the kid. He finds the distillery right next to
Alright,
the
so
arsenal.
click up,
Tough part
enter.
of town.
Sorry,
One sip
click
of the
up.
spirits
Well,
in that
I screwed it up. I
distillery,
click up,
and the
click.
kid'll feel like a
Don't
new
pick
man.
Doomshine. Escape, click.
The
Go to the
arsenal's
arsenal.
where the kid can pick the
We're going to do
best
pike
tools for the
mortar this
job.
time. But still pike vault. Hello.
Some of them squirts birthing like crazy. And
What I just did there
wins.
is approximately
The old
as
ferret
fast as
barge
you can
sends the
actually
kid
roll
on
around
his
there
way.
without getting
The Bastion's
killed
real close
or
now.
without falling off. And now here I'll just kill some things with the mortar. Hell, I'll even throw the pike for amusement. Then... pike vault. Missed. So just wait. Pike vault through here.
He finds the core to the wharf district. Well, down he goes.
Dupe the core, and on we
down,
go.
Toward the Bastion. Now the kid sees something stranger still. His
So a little
mind
bit of careful
races.
rolling right here.
Did anybody else survive?
Don't go too
Sure enough,
bonsai there.
he
You
finds
cannot
another.
chain
He
roll there.
finds me.
You just can't. If you chain roll,
Just
you
like
will
that,
fall.
the Bastion comes alive. Starts growing again. Growing stronger. Kid's gotta put its power to good use. Now the Bastion can send him even farther.
When the camera
into the
starts
wild
scrolling back
unknown.
from the stryway, start scrolling your scroll wheel.
Kid does it
Get to the
again.
building pad,
Only
build
fair he
literally
decides
whatever.
What we build next. Picked up traces
Failed
of
skip
other
because
cores
you're
while the
bad
kid
like
was
me.
out.
Go to the workman ward.
Now he lands at the intersection between bad and wrong. Ought to be
Again,
a
careful
core down
rolling.
One of these twisted
It's very
streets.
easy to just go off
But
the
which
edge.
one? And there
Like
it
that.
is. But it's locked down tight in
Go
an
up against
alloy
the cage. Pike
A
shot.
blustery old
Hello?
foreman is
Oh, right,
keeping
right,
his
right. You're
fellas
supposed to
in
musket
check.
him, I
And now
forgot.
there's a new marshal in town.
Dupe the core.
He hears the whole place groan.
Did I say musket? I
He's
meant
too
mortar.
tough to fall.
I have the mortar, so I'm supposed to just stand near him and point blank mortar shot.
He comes back.
But,
just
unfortunately,
like
I forgot.
knew he would.
So that is
The
what you would
core
do
hums
if you
in
were
his
doing
pack.
this
The
run
monument's
with
calling
pike
for him.
mortar.
The old world's
Disregard my
finished,
badness in
but
that
the
regard.
new world's just getting started. The cores, they remember.
So position the
That's why this place
mouse
is coming
middle left
together.
side
That's why things
so
are
that
gonna
you
be
can roll
all
up here
right.
quickly.
Kid ponders
Build
what to
whatever.
build. We track down a
Go to
couple
the Hanging
more cores
Gardens,
near
waiting
edge
for
of
the
city.
narration that you can't really skip. I guess if we designated specific buildings on specific spots, you could probably do narration skips, but
The dead,
we haven't really gotten around to
the
optimizing the
dead
New Game
ain't
Plus
gotta
that much
worry
yet.
about this mess. The
I would
calamity
recommend,
took everybody after all.
If you're watching
Kid
this like
sees it
far in the
plain,
future,
frozen
check the
faces
SDA
all
forum
around.
thread, and
These
it's
folks never
possible
saw the
that
calamity coming.
that is a thing that we
But
will have
someone
resolved
did.
at that time.
Someone close.
So again, these two pike vaults here. And then I don't have the mortar here, so I can't actually kill these dudes, so I have to just like... Well, I can't,
And
just
then,
mortar
what do you
them,
say to a man who's
because
seen
that
too
would be
much?
slow.
Kid
Although,
has the
maybe it would have
clue,
been less slow than what
but
I
he
just
says
did there.
this, we have to go. Please. He's a proper gentleman, that man.
So here, of course, you
His
get to
name
stretch
is
out a
Salt.
little bit, relax.
No hiding isn't good. Folks like him ain't never been a common sight in Ceylondia.
Position your mouse in kind of the top right-ish
He's
corner of
relieved
the
to see a
screen.
living face or two. The kid and I introduce ourselves in kind. Both to him and to each other. For the first time.
Roll once, drop
Zolf's
into
travels ain't much
core.
compared to what the kids had to go through for all this. Kid's surprised when I tell him there's only one core left. I shouldn't have
Build
believed
whatever. Off to Cinderbrick Fort. Cinder brick fort. Remember that
There's only
you want to
one way in
roll
a cinder brick fort.
northeast as quickly as possible at the beginning to trigger the gates opening,
The
and
hard
then
way.
you just have to wait.
Sure, the city marshals may be gone, but now the
Then,
fort's crawling
you know,
with
roll
windbags. The
whatever way
calamity
you're
was
most
mercy.
comfortable with to get up here.
Folks.
I keep
Windbags ain't much different from normal folks. All they want's a warm place to stay and a decent
forgetting
meal.
some optimal strats here.
Cinder
okay.
brick gave them enough heat
that
metal to
core.
munch on for a while. Well, the fort ain't theirs by right.
So come up here, and because you don't have the musket, just blow it out with your pike. Fail the skip.
Security's plain gone
Pick up another
haywire.
tonic.
Windbags gummed up the works.
Fail skip. Let's try it this time. Fail the skip. And I believe there's a tonic further back here somewhere. Well. Oh well. Guess we're not doing the skip. Lol. So here's your backup strats if you fail the skip. You see how this gets you past that horrible section.
They trapped the kid in the middle of the
Pike
fort's
vault.
parade grounds. The Skyway's a welcome sight after all that.
And leave.
now ain't nothing left for nobody down at Cinder Brick Fort. Kid shows up just as Zolf's telling me about his own journey to the city. Zolf banged up the monument
So
pretty
you drop in
bad,
the last core and the first shard,
but there's a way
upgrade
to
whatever's
put
in
it
the middle
back
right,
together.
and then you build something in the
The
top right.
shards. That's it. A few more shards like that, and we'll be back in business. A single shard can breathe new life into this place. The shard's got enough juice to spruce up any of these places. The city tried to use the
Then
shards
you
to
head to
stake
Rothus
out the
Lagoon,
wilds.
waiting for this long
So much for
text.
that plan.
Remember to position your mouse in the bottom left side of the screen, so that you can
Ankle
get up
gators
and
used to roam
head
the
out
wilds,
immediately.
and they
So
nested
you gotta
at
go
Rothus
around
Lagoon.
this
Many a tale folks used to scare their
scramble thing
children straight
and get past the
originated
log.
here.
Pike through
They
that.
used to think that ankle gators were extinct. Well, they ain't.
Skip the
Turns
pike.
out Queen Anne got a hold of a shard.
Roll around that
Ankle
gate.
gators love shiny things. Queenie leads the kid into some kind
And
of twisted
that
trap.
puts you in kind of a
The closer
not
you get to an
ideal
ankle gator's
position
lair, the thicker the tall
for
grass
using the
grows.
mortar on that
One
dude, so
bad
you could
step
just
in that tall
pike him
grass
twice.
is Queen Anne's lunch.
another
Want to
alternative.
know how to find an ankle gator lair? You use a kid as
So,
bait.
with
He's
the
got
mortar,
it,
obviously
and now to
I don't
finish
have
her
Rare
off.
Whiskey, so I'm not going to do that strat. So what I'm going to do,
Now she's coming for him. She's got nowhere
activate
else to
her,
go. She's starting to get annoyed.
and
The
hit her
shard's
with a
sitting
mortar
in
shot.
plain view after all that.
And I executed that a
Let
little
the ankle
poorly, but
gator
you get the
go.
idea. Just get right in front of her, mortar shot, it'll hit her immediately,
Hope Queen Anne.
and
don't
that should
mind us
trigger the
borrowing
Skyway
from
if I
the
recall
treasury.
correctly.
All that trouble for a single shard.
So now drop in your
But
two
you know
shards,
what?
upgrade
It was
whatever's in
worth
the
it.
top right.
It ain't
Also,
too late
if
to
you've
unlock
watched
the
both
potential of
this
place.
demo run and the previous demo run, you can see that my selection of buildings is already completely different. Just
The
driving
memorial
home the
may be
fact that it
finished,
literally does
but
not
our
matter
part
what you
is
build in
far
this
from over.
category.
The
You can build
Bastion ain't gonna
whatever
build.
you want. The
Not
only thing
everything
that
blew up
matters
in the
is
calamity.
doing the building on certain building
Why
paths
Colford Cauldron
and doing the
here
upgrading
blew up way
for
ahead of its
certain
time.
locations.
The cauldron
and
boiled
it's a
over
rather
some
poor
300 years
roll.
ago. They say it filled the skies with ash and the lakes with molten rock. As for us, we learned an
And I
awful
used the
lot
pike
from
there
Colford
because
Cauldron.
I don't have the mortar.
Sure, we dusted off.
If
a
I
good
did have the
many
mortar,
secrets out here,
sorry, because I
but
don't have
we
the musket.
discovered other
If I had the
things
musket,
we're
I
better
would
off
use
not
that to
knowing.
clear the
After all,
obstacles instead.
when we looked down
But using the
inside
mortar is way
Colford
slower.
Cauldron, we saw in there the heart of the world. The heart now laid bare by the calamity. As for the kid,
So I just
he
got
has to
the
get
Colford
that
Cauldron
shard
skip
out of
there, as you saw.
Too bad taking that thing woke up every last stink eye.
Proof
from
that it
the
is, in
Johnson
fact,
arm.
doable in a
Pops
run.
open on him like a pimple on a school day. And where there's one stink eye, there's always more. Biggest stink eye he's ever seen's waiting for him on the other side. The cauldron's tenants all gather up to bid the kid a fond farewell. He comes back looking like the inside of a chimney. The shard works like a charm.
Drop the
Hear the monument's heartbeat again.
4th and 5th shards into the monument and upgrade whatever's in the top left.
The monument's getting better. Zolf sure did a number on it, though. Ain't saying much, but that's the greatest forge.
And then we're off to
the city.
Burstone Quarry.
High time we built something new.
So again, you want to mortar out the obstacles at the
Imagine
beginning here,
everything
which
you
is a little bit
need to
irritating,
build a city like
but
Celandia.
it could be worse.
It takes hard work and planning, and it also takes Burstone Quarry. We bought the whole place from the Ura on the cheap. Not only are these rocks a source of life, keeping the quarry free from pests turned out to be a problem. We found that the oldest ones
So,
remember
yeah.
things.
2 pike
Now,
vaults
why
down,
would the
just
Ura
roll through
sell
all the
off
rest of the
such a
stuff.
fascinating place. Might be the gods told them the quarry's bad news. Those rocks.
Okay, so Sir Lunky
all
is going to be
polished to a
facing
mirror
towards you,
sheen.
so get
The
behind
largest
him
ones
and
you
mortar.
know as cores.
And then
Remember
finish him
how I
off with
said
pikes.
Rattletails ain't the worst thing in the quarry. That honor goes to a beast.
And that actually
with the
worked
collar.
decently well.
Sir
So you
Lunky.
see that was a little
Never
bit
could
faster
get
than it
stubborn
was
old
for
Lunky
me
to
with
leave the
pike
quarry
before,
alone.
because
Massive things
the
stop
pike
many
doesn't
of our
necessarily
boys.
always crit,
We just couldn't get
whereas
rid
the
of
mortar
him.
just
Then the
does
kid hears
a
voice
massive amount
calling
of
from down
damage
the
no
hall.
matter what.
Are you all right?
So,
It says.
kind of a useful thing to think about.
Kid
Personally,
hears him, but he ain't about to be
another run that I've been
deterred.
doing is the New Game Plus all story levels run
If
with
that's the
all
way it
idols
is,
activated.
he said,
And for that run,
then I won't
the
stop
mortar
you,
is tremendously
because
useful. It
my
deals a ton of
countrymen
damage.
will.
It has a pretty
The
large
next
splash
part's hard
area,
to talk about,
and
no matter how many times I
is
try.
generally pretty amazing. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to soft lock your game to kind of wrap up this tutorial.
Say what you will about
This
Zolf,
is a pretty
but he's a
fun
man of
soft
his
lock,
word.
where when I say fun, I am greatly
His
exaggerating.
countrymen don't much care.
It's gonna
for
take some
pleasantries,
damage.
though. They
little
got
bit more
inside the
damage,
Bastion
please.
and shut the door.
More.
Kid's
More.
gotta go in through the back.
One more. Go away.
Zolf showed him the way here, and here they came.
Alright,
take
so I'm at
revenge.
very low health,
Unfortunately,
and what I'm going to do is
they
roll
broke
directly into one of the
And they
groups of
started digging their
Ura
hole.
here. In fact, I'll
Something
roll
wrong
into the
sprung out
right
of those
one,
holes,
because there's 2
and
of
it's
them there.
eating away at this place. I couldn't
Okay.
stop him alone.
So the way that you can tell you're soft
Well,
locked
it's all
is
more
that
than
all the
anyone
Ura
can
keep
handle.
attacking the monument. Like, actively attacking it. They don't start going away. No one starts talking. Rux is done talking. Everyone is just sitting there forever attacking the monument. And unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about this, ever. So, my game is now soft locked. And that concludes this tutorial. That's basically all I had to show for both New Game Any Percent and New Game Plus Any Percent. Hopefully this has given anybody who has watched a pretty good basis from which to do runs of either of these 2 categories. I know that a lot of stuff is still probably not obvious after watching this. My best advice for figuring out what's going on is always to watch good runs. At the time of recording this tutorial, the runs that you really should consider watching are Maze 513's 16-minute and 27-second New Game Any Percent run. That is an old run. It is it used to be the world record. It's obsolete now, and it uses an old route. However, by watching that, you can get a pretty good idea of a lot of the mistakes that you can make that you might not even easily realize. Obviously, you should watch my 15-minute, 22-second current world record, if you can find it. It should be pretty straightforward. I will probably link it from this tutorial. You should also watch Red Buddha's current 14-minute and 21-second world record in New Game Plus Any Percent. And you should also watch some runs by folks that are not and have not been world record holders to get an idea of where other folks are. You should watch some of Lawyer Dog's runs because his have just a slightly different style to them that you'll get to see something different. The second best New Game Any Percent run at the time of this tutorial is Theo Drissel's run. So you should check that out. I believe it's 16 minutes and 3 seconds. And it's a pretty solid run. It is on the new route, so it's about 41 seconds behind the world record. But again, this is a way that you can get an idea of how, like what the difference is in terms of like where those 40 seconds go. And it's a pretty good thing that you should do. You should do the same thing for New Game Plus 80%. You should check out my 14 minutes and 25 seconds run. You should check out Inkalex's 14:52. All these are good runs. Additionally, if there have been more world records before the time that you watch this run, or just more runners putting in different runs, you should definitely check those out. If you have any questions about anything Bastion related, the best place to go is Pound Bastion, the channel on SRL IRC. That is irc2.speedrunslive.com. Go to Pound Bastion, and there are almost always people in there who are willing to answer questions for you. You can also always send me a Twitch PM or a comment on any of my YouTube videos, or you can reach me on the SDA forum. My name there is also Voligen. Another resource you should check out, speaking of SDA, is the thread on the SDA forums, which is located in the PC games section, and it's just called Bastion. It should be very easy to find. And yeah, if you manage to get good runs of this game, please let us know in one of these locations. We would love to add you to the Bastion leaderboards. If you don't know where you can find those, a link can be found in the info of the IRC channel, and also on, I want to say, page 10 of the SDA forum thread. Finally, if you would like to learn New Game all story levels or New Game Plus all story levels, I think that the information that I've given here is a decent primer for methods, other than like, I obviously haven't given you actual level strategies for any of the levels that you don't do in any percent. But the second thing that I would check out is Lawyer Dog's Bastion tutorial video, which he did with an eye towards all story levels, and more specifically New Game all story levels. But New Game Plus all story levels also, a lot of the stuff applies to it. So check that out. I will have a link to Lawyer Dog's tutorial from the description of this one. So if you can't find it, just look at the description and it should be there. Otherwise, thank you very much for watching. I hope that you will follow me on Twitch if you have not already done so. You may also feel free to follow me on Twitter, or subscribe on YouTube or whatever. I don't really care as much about those things. My name everywhere is Voligen, so it shouldn't be too hard to find me. Also, I'd like to give some shoutouts at the end of this. Many shoutouts to Lawyer Dog for his efforts to educate everyone about Bastion. He is an encyclopedia of information about this game. Very, very cool guy. Shoutouts to Red Buddha and Inkalex, who provided a lot of assistance learning New Game Plus 80% when I did that. Shout out to Maze, whose record I took by rerouting this category entirely from scratch. 2-Bit Marksman, Sereth, people who had input on the new route for New Game 80%. They were very helpful as well. Shouts to some of the newer runners of this game: Croaky, Fleet, Melis, Meaningless Name, I'm trying to think of some of the others that I saw not as recently. But then also Theo Drassil, who is, I think, the most recent Bastion runner, who seems to have picked it up since AGDQ. It's awesome to have more runners in the community, and it's particularly awesome to see someone really making a solid effort on New Game 80%. And I'm sure pretty soon Theo Drassil will be in the sub-16 range and putting out some pretty solid runs of his own. Alright. I think that's it. I think that's good. So, cool. Good tutorial. That went decently well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks 3 different people who rated me during the course of this tutorial. Let me see. Shenanigans, I think Anwanu? It was either Anwanu or Kirby Master. I'm not 100% sure which. And also Breakdown, I believe, correct? Thank you all very much for the raids. I'm pretty surprised and impressed by how many people actually stuck around to watch me just talk about this game while playing it badly. But I guess that's what I do on every stream, so whatever. Also very